So I'm assuming everybody knows about confidentiality and its limits, but basically what we talk about remains confidential. So the young person needs to know that this is a safe place. Not even mum and dad are going to hear what we're talking about. This means that whatever we talk about prohibits communication and information to other people, organisations, unless you have given consent to do so. So confidentiality is about empowering them to know that this is a safe place and that any information that needs to be shared, we need to get their permission, like anything else. But there's only two reasons. Oh, there's actually three. I don't know why I put two here, but there's actually three reasons. If you're a perceived risk to harm yourself, I might need to tell my supervisor, or I might need to do something about that. Keep you safe. Perceive you to be a risk of harming somebody else, need to do that. Maybe to breach to keep that person safe. Or if a judge of a court subpoenas me to breach confidence, so look at notes or case assessments and all that sort of stuff, then that's pretty rare, but that could happen. So they just need to be aware of that sort of stuff. And only the appropriate authorities will be notified, and every effort will be taken to inform you that this breach will occur. So again, it's about giving them that knowledge, giving them that power, let them know that not everything's guaranteed in terms of, everything's 100% secret. No, there are limits to what we can do. Two of them are really about their safety. It's not about anything else. We want to make sure they're okay, or they're not going to do anything silly that's going to put them in further jeopardy with the justice system or whatever the case may be. So we've got mandatory reporting over here. I'm not sure what other states have over East, but ours is basically it's a reporting legislation. Mandatory reporting legislation requires specific people, professionals, to report concerns of child abuse to Child Protection Agency, so it's the Department of Child Protection over here. In Western Australia, the legislation covering mandatory reporting of child sexual abuse is the Children and Community Services Amendment, reporting child sexual abuse of children, 2008, and it's from 2009, this amendment became part of the Children and Community Service Act 2004. Boring, I know, but important. Who are mandatory reporters under the legislation? So doctors, nurses, midwives, teachers, and police officers. Now I know when I wrote this, I knew there was an update coming out, so I wrote this last year. I think this year there's some more people, more professionals being added to the list. So at the moment, counsellors and psychologists and youth workers aren't on the list, but I know eventually we will be included on the list. But I just want to say, just because you're not on the list, it's good practice to protect the child. So if they do disclose, even though you're not on the list, it might be in your best interest and the interest of the child to ensure that they're looked after and protected. So professionally and ethically, we should respond anyway. What does the legislation mean to mandatory reporters? Legislation requires mandatory reporters to report suspected child abuse. So it just has to be suspected. Don't need evidence, don't need to judge the child right or wrong, just need to know they've disclosed or you suspect. You've got to do it. Use judgment, use your supervisor, use your colleagues, but don't do it in isolation. That will be the wrong thing to do. Child sexual abuse, if they form this belief based on reasonable grounds, so reasonable grounds is the context, in the course of their paid or unpaid work to the Department of Child Protection. Legislation focuses on child sexual abuse and other forms of abuse. Physical and emotional neglect should be continued to be reported, but there's no penalty if a report is not made. But we're bound by our ethics. So over here we've got the Youth Work Code of Ethics here. I'm a counsellor, so I'm bound by my governing body, the ACA ethics, all that sort of stuff. So, where the child's in harm, I feel obligated and ethically obligated to respond. How is a child defined in relation to mandatory reporting? A child is defined as in Children and Community Service Act as under 18 years of age. So what I'm going to do is going to skip over this because this is just all legality stuff, but it's there. You can have it if you want it. So just skip over this. So there's the link there for us. So you can just go to that link. You get the referral. So just go there and you'll read all this fascinating information about that sort of stuff. Boring but important is what I'd say. So
I love this photo. I love it.
That's all I do all day is just work with Angry Birds.
The family shot.
That's it. There's me in the middle. Okay. So best practice. So we're coming to an end soon. So best practice. The most important and immediate thing is always believe the child. Reassure the child that telling you was the right thing to do. Maintain a calm appearance, find a quiet place to talk, because I know youth workers sometimes do outreach work. Sometimes it's just best to get them away from a crowd and into a safe place. You need to follow your organisation reporting structure. Do not deal with these situations on your own. If your role is not a therapeutic role, such as a counsellor, then referring to an appropriate service would be required. When doing this, consider the non-offending parent and work with them. So it's not working in isolation, but try and work collectively with everybody as much as you can and within reason, reasonably. Is probably better. Be patient. Their trust has been broken. It takes a long time for this to be re-established. You might be the only positive and safe adult that they know, so just keep that in mind. Clear boundaries. This is about role modelling, designed behaviour. What is okay, what is not okay. So that's a conversation that could occur over time. Treat them age-appropriate levels. Most offenders will make the child behave like an adult, so they'll dress up the young girl sexy and all that sort of stuff when she's only like 9. So if you're seeing her at 13, then make sure you talk to her at a 13-year-old. Don't engage in her perceived understanding of adult life. Talk to her at her age, is really all boy at their age. Sexually abused boys or girls who adopt macho or abusive styles to compensate for their own victimization need help replacing these behaviours with more socializing ways. So that's a process. So if you're angry, and you seem to be angry all the time, so maybe we need to look at different ways of communicating and relating. So that's a process. Not necessarily dealing with the sexual abuse, but it's just dealing with the externalizing behaviours that they use to protect that wound. Anxiety and depression therapy is required. Referral to a counselling service is strongly recommended. Anger. Young people need to learn that anger that they feel is okay. Nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly a normal response. How they use their anger is where people will judge or punish them. Finding a socially acceptable outlet may be required to help them channel their anger in a positive way and a controlled way. Hear what they have to say. So it's probably more about listening than doing anything else. Yes, you're almost there. So again, protective factors, talk to them in a private space, explain your limits and confidentiality, follow your agency's policies and procedures, let another colleague be aware that you're seeing the student or client and where, because you don't want to put yourself in danger. Develop a safety plan. For example, if the conversation goes longer than 40 minutes, have someone knock on the door and say there's a phone call for you. And that minimises risk towards you, and it just protects you as a counsellor or youth worker. You might not need that because the young person's okay, but you might have a young person who's prone to making allegations. So you just want to be in a safe place yourself. Do not operate outside your role. Do not make promises to the young person. Keep a record of the conversation. Summary to one whole page ought to be enough. Don't give out your personal details or have a young person in your car unless it is cleared by a senior member of the staff. So again, just practical stuff. But role modelling boundaries, what's okay, what's not okay. Do not interview the young person. If they only give you a little information, that's okay. DCP or the police have experts to handle the situation.